It is such an honor.
I know it.
It is such an honor for all of us to have you here with us, Professor Wiendu. First and foremost, we do have a special comic that we will be screening onto center stage. Can we have assistance from our... We do have a special comic and, oh, a presentation. Wow. This is it. Please, take it away, Ibu.
So waiting for the comics.
Still waiting for the comic. All right. Last night, there was a lady who was with us for the W20. So W20 is one of the segmentation of the G20, and W20 is specifically for women. So obviously, this one is an appropriate session for all of us for the discussion whether tourism is a driver for gender equality. And we are still waiting for that comic strip. Probably.
Just go ahead.
We can go ahead. Very well. All right. Ibu, when it comes to gender equality, what is your first and foremost take on this for tourism?
Yeah, thank you for this very smart question. But we need the smart answers, right? Yes. But I'm still thinking whether I do have one. So, I think we are fooled by into believing that men leaders are better than women leaders in general. So I think this kind of framework of mind that lead to misunderstanding in terms of the gender equality in all sectors, not just tourism, in all sectors. But we do have hope in terms of women roles in tourism industry, which actually better than compared to other sectors. Because in tourism, especially in Indonesia, we have about maybe more than 10 million workers in tourism sector, and more than 55% are women.
Majority.
Yeah. Compared to other sector, especially small and medium enterprises, with more than 120 million workers, but only less than 40% are women. So I think tourism compared to other sectors, you double in terms of better roles. But there are notes, important notes. Only this good news is only in the level of participant, which is like lower level of job in tourism.
Rank and file.
Exactly. When you move up into the management levels, like a GM, like
CEO,
chefs, CEO especially, drop into 20%. And even worse, okay, when you go into higher level, the tip of the triangle, this is certainly not golden triangle, I think, because CEO or owner is less than 10% and just over 5%. So I think this triangle, we have to watch this triangle if we want to improve the equality roles of women in tourism. So we watch the tip of the triangle.
For this, is it caused by confidence, or what is actually the root cause?
Yeah, I like
What's
you.
your take on this?
I like you use the word confidence because sometimes we fool confidence over competence. When you into the man walls, yeah, let's do it. Don't worry, I can do it. That kind of wall. While the woman's world, they can get it done without all this busty work. Yes? See? They all agree. So So this is the one that fool us. Don't be fooled into this misunderstanding of the psychological obstacles that this is definitely wrong.
And then, how do we factor in the pandemic over the last 2.5 years, and how will it impact the gender equality
Yes.
in tourism? Already, we have this opportunity triangle as such, and then how will it impact?
Yes, it was. It was. So, pandemic, if you look at the pandemic, everything centered into the house. So the house become the life center. And this life center used to be like women domain. Suddenly become hospital because you deal with sick people in the house. Suddenly transform into school because all you kids studying at home. And also become an office because your husband, they work from home. And the work from home culture basically changing everything. So your house moving, transform from the private space into the public space in such instant way. So that's why there is a prediction or projection that in order to reach the equality of women in tourism, before pandemic, you need 100 years. And now you need 136 years, maybe even 200. Because you have this, woman is, since you were born, you become already multitasker. Housewife, children, all this husband, all this kind of thing. But then this multitasking burden multiplying with this pandemic. So even, there is no research yet explaining how we deal with this. But basically, like it or not, your home already transformed into public space. So this is something not just in terms of space, physical space, but also psychological space.
Wow. Professor, I do have to highlight the time constraint that we have, 5 more minutes on the floor. And we do have all the leaders of the tourism global platform here. Please give us some solutions. I think we're looking forward to that one, right? So solutions, Professor.
Solutions. That's a not very easy one, I guess. So
Putting you on the
why
spot
not?
here.
Why we use like triangle? Since we start with triangle, now we end up with triangle. There are 3 levels in that. Participatory, fine. You have valve. Access start dropping, and then control. That's where you actually the key of the solution. Give the woman control. That's what you want. Not just in the tourism sector. So give, the space to be the authority maker. So if you want to get the job done, give the authority role. Give the control role. This is the solution.
1, on the control level. Number 2, just now you said 100 years to complete the task or to gain that equality on the tourism industry. And then now, after the pandemic, it's 130 years, getting longer. Please, can we have an answer as to how do we make that time frame shorter? Say, within 10 years, what can we really actually do to bring up that time frame closer to what we hope it to be? Please, Professor.
One is culture, I think is the answer. Because you deal with expectation, you deal with mindset, you deal with psychological concept. So expectation is number 1, I think. Because culture will solve problem with the stereotyping. That's a very important. Second, I think the word entrepreneurships here is so important. Not long time ago, I remember I was speaking in the panel. Suddenly there is one Ibu from the audience came to see me, giving the small letter saying that I have a daughter who works in the hotel industry. And then whenever she came back from the work at night, all my neighbor, sort of like talking bad things about my daughter. This is not a long time ago, maybe like 15, 20 years ago. So this kind of stuff is, the understanding of entrepreneurships on the economic role of the woman empowerment, I think is still very limited and need to be empowered. Also leadership, which I lead to the control just now. That's the key. Even in the highest level of women role, like when they have the authority, there are still stereotypes. I think maybe this is even the mother of stereotyping is there. Even the president, the prime minister of all over the world, I think they still facing the obstacle with the stereotyping. So again, culture, entrepreneurships, and leadership.
Wow.
That's where you start with Susan.
1 more minute, Ibu Professor Wiendu. This is so enlightening and inspiring. 1 more minute. What is the call to action? Call to action for all of us here today. What would you like us to do?
I thought I mentioned already. Give control. Solve the problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our applause to Professor Wiendu. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Our
Thank
Vice
you.
Minister of
Thank you.
Culture of the Republic of Indonesia, appointed by the President for a period of 2011 and 2014.
And
Thank you.